Shire. I'll introduce my fellow councillors around the table. I have Councillor Ruth Gastrain, Councillor Joe Beard, Councillor Jamie Vogels, Councillor Geraldine Canady, Councillor Nick Cole, and on screens I have Deputy Mayor Laurie Hickey. I also have directors and managers around the table as well. I have Miss Justine Lindley, Director of Sustainable Development, Miss Michelle Stevenson, Manager of Human Resources and Risk, Mr Xavier Flanagan, Director of Corporate and Community Services, and Miss Gabrielle Henry, Manager of Governance and Civic Support, and also our CEO, Mr David Ray. We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us, who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interest of the people, culture and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen. Corangamite Shire Council acknowledges and pays our respects to the Eastern Maar and Wadawurrungs people as the traditional owners of the lands that we work, live and play. We also acknowledge their elders, past and present, and recognise their ongoing cultural, spiritual and educational practices. Mr CEO, do we have any apologies today?
Madam Mayor, there are no apologies this afternoon.
And there's no declarations of conflict of interest?
Madam Mayor, I would probably open that up to the floor if any councillors would have a conflict, including Councillor Hickey on screen.
Does anyone have a conflict of interest for today's agenda? No. Oh.
Yes, I'll declare a conflict of interest with the events program. I haven't got the number in front of me. The proposed events later.
In confidentials and item 12.4 major events proposal.
In confidentials, yes.
Okay, noted. Thank you, Councillor Hickey. I'll move on to item 5, confirmation of the minutes, 28th of July 2026. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Cole. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Gastrain. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Yep, carried. Number 6 is deputation presentations, and we have none today. Number 7 is committee reports, and we have none of those. Number 8 are planning reports, and there's none of those today either. So we move straight on to number 9, which is officers' reports. So 9.1, managing unreasonable conduct policy. Ms Henry.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Like many organisations, council staff have been seeing an increase in unreasonable or disruptive behaviour from customers. The Managing Unreasonable Conduct Policy provides a structured framework, consistent and transparent decision-making for managing challenging or unsafe customer behaviour. It's designed to reduce the impact of these incidents through clear processes, suggested responses, temporary restrictions and Chief Executive Officer approved access limits to ensure safety, fairness and efficient service delivery. It also ensures council maintains a safe and healthy workplace, reduces occupational health and safety risks and prevents psychosocial harm caused by unreasonable conduct. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Henry. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Gastrain. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Canady. Councillor Gastrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and this is the first time we've introduced this policy. And I think it's a sign of the times. I was hearing this morning on the radio that in one of the major supermarkets there had been an 85% increase in abusive behaviours from customers toward their staff in the last 2 years. This is quite a significant increase, and I think that's what we're seeing here at council, not only for councillors but mainly for council staff. So I think it's absolutely appropriate that we put this in place, this framework in place. It sets the boundaries for the staff. It gives them, helps them de-escalate the situation, but no, not at all does it minimise the impact that it can have on staff. So I read in the report that the MAV draft guidelines in occupational health and safety have helped in proposing this document. I say it's for staff but also for councillors, and I just ask people to treat our staff and our council workers particularly with respect, and we'll treat them exactly the same. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gastrain. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it is actually a very important responsibility for council to introduce this policy, and I'm pleased that we've done that because we do need to be able to balance fair access for our community, but also make sure that we have tools in place to protect the safety and well-being of our staff. So yes, I support this recommendation. I think the policy's been put together very well. I read through the process, if you like, the tools and the support structure that's been provided beneath that policy, and I think we've certainly moved to a better place in terms of protecting the health and wellbeing of our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Any other discussion? Councillor Hickey?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is a good policy, and policies, of course, I've spoken to it before, very important within our organisation because they do provide the guide rails, the rails to keep us on the safe and straight and narrow. I think we're seeing an escalation in the way people are prepared to speak once they get frustrated or are upset and angry around things that are seemingly beyond their control. And we see it not only in our council our offices, but we also see it with emergency services. I've got family who are ambulance paramedics and nurses, and they're seeing an escalation of people who are frustrated and taking it out on staff. But that's not the answer. So this policy can certainly give us some protection and make sure that all our staff are treated fairly, and councillors too are treated with courtesy and the respect that the office deserves. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Any other? Councillor Vogels?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I support this policy because our ratepayers deserve to be heard, even when they're frustrated and even if they're persistent. But at the same time, I think staff and councillors need to be treated with respect and to feel safe doing their jobs. I think this policy strikes a good balance between open door policy and to our community, and appropriate boundaries when behaviours cross the line.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.2, councillor candidates at federal or state election policy. Ms Henry.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. The council policy of councillor candidates at federal or state elections outlines council's expectations of a councillor who is or seeks to become a prospective candidate or a nominated candidate in a state or federal election. The policy is reviewed regularly and is due for review in August 2026 in time for the upcoming state elections. Council staff have reviewed this policy and determined that no updates are necessary at this time. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Henry. Councillor, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Vogels. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. As there's no changes to this policy, I'm more than happy to move this recommendation. I mean, this policy's been informed by numerous other policies that we adhere to, whether it be Councillor Code of Conduct, the Model Code of Conduct, which is the MAV, obviously, the Local Government Act. It's a way of protecting the role of a councillor first and foremost, so there's no inappropriate behaviour. I mean, of course, we're not wanting to take away the fact that people can elect. It's their prerogative, but we also want to protect the role of their duty as a councillor as well. So it's important we have this policy, but it's been informed by a lot of references to get to this point. It's good to know that there's no changes signalled.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I think it's good that councillors do put their names up to run for state and federal government, but they must clearly separate the two roles, and I think this protects the integrity of council with this policy, and it makes sure ratepayer monies don't go into funding their campaigns.
Thanks, Councillor Vogels. Any other discussion? No, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.3, Year 1 Council Plan Initiatives Report 2025-2026. Ms Henry.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. The Council Plan 2025 to 2029 was adopted by Council in June 2025. It sets the broad strategic direction for Council over a 4-year period, with implementation phased over those 4 years and regular milestones to track progress. Council is required to report regularly on its performance against the Council Plan, including results in relation to the strategic indicators for delivering it. This report is for the delivery of initiative for the Council Plan's first year of implementation, which was from July 2025 to June 2026. I note that Council Plan initiatives were adopted at the June 2026 Council meeting for Year 2 of the implementation of the Council Plan, and with further initiatives for Years 3 and 4 to be developed in future years. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Henry. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Canady, do I have a seconder for that one, please? Councillor Constrain. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think this is a pleasing outcome given the hurdles that have been negotiated during the last 12 months. We've got like 68% of the initiatives completed and 29% are still in progress, but we've been faced with a number of hurdles in this past 12 months, and particularly the prioritisation of resources and effort that needed to go towards the January fire recovery, which has been occurring over many months and still ongoing. I think it's been an extraordinary effort from the council organisation, and I'm really grateful to all the leaders and staff for the commitment that they've made in completing, as much as they have done with this, with the first year of our council plan initiatives. I think it's been quite extraordinary, given the other upsets, if you like, that have occurred. There've been some big projects that have been undertaken that have been related to housing and planning and emergency, tourism and investment, and all important, and a number of them, as I said, ongoing, but they're also well progressed as well. I noticed that almost all our service initiatives are complete. We've done a lot of advocacy, as we always do, and I think some of the deferred items, I noticed there were a couple of things that weren't funded. There might have been, I haven't got the note in front of me now, but I think there was a procurement delay, but things that were sort of somewhat beyond our control. But I think I'm happy with this report. I think it's been a really excellent outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Constrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I think Councillor Canady said it all, is this is a really amazing result considering the year that we've had. And I think that, earlier in the year we talked about how we would go on with business as usual. I think if you didn't realise that there had been a fire in January, fires in January, you would think that this had been almost a business as usual year. So it's a huge effort by our team. We're very, very lucky to have excellent staff to deliver these projects. And they have done an amazing job. I do have a question, and I apologise to Ms Lindley because it's without notice, but one of the initiatives was to investigate opportunities for hard to recycle items. One of those is soft plastics, and I noticed that I think it's Woolworths or Coles, I'm not really sure which, are starting to accept soft plastics back into a number of their stores. I don't believe it's Camperdown as yet, but I'm wondering if we can continue that and just try and see what we can do to get soft plastics back in, out of the rubbish bins and back being recycled, because they do take up an awful lot of space in your bin and consequently in the landfill. So I'd be really keen to see that progress.
Thank you, Madam. Excuse me. Thank you, Councillor Constrain. Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we will be investigating further as part of our circular economy strategy any opportunities for recycling of materials or reuse of materials, including soft plastics.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Any other discussions? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.4, Municipal Association of Victoria State Council Motion Visitor Economy Partnership. Mr Ray.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, this report relates to Council considering endorsing a motion to submit to MOV State Council to be held in October of this year. The motion seeks MOV advocacy for long-term multi-year funding certainty and recognition of VEPs as a economic development partner. Visitor economy partnerships are critical regional organisations that support tourism, development, destination management, events and economic growth. The current state government funding certainty only extends to 30 June of 2027, creating uncertainty for long-term planning and investment. Corangamite Shire Council partners with Great Ocean Road Regional Tourism as its visitor economy partnership, along with other Southwest councils. Ongoing funding will help maximise council's investment in tourism infrastructure, visitor services, events and destination development in conjunction with GORT.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Council, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Castrain. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Castrain.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think it's completely unfair that state government expect organisations like Great Ocean Road Tourism to operate on a year-to-year basis. And I think that the tourism industry, which is an important industry for us here in Corangamite, deserves better. I think that for Council's point of view, we commit through our budget to supporting GORT as well. I think that the organisation deserves some level of certainty around their planning, their industry development, workforce planning, and Council also from our resourcing point of view. So I say tourism is very important. You can't really expect Council to be delivering the level of marketing and the level of expertise that GORT has. And I think that the program works really well. And I just think they deserve some certainty, some long-term financial certainty to keep delivering great product.
Thank you, Councillor Castrain. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, certainly building a visitor economy is a long game, and you know, the security of funding for tourism planning and development really needs to reflect that, and obviously we're not seeing that at this point in time. You know, we can see that our partnerships in the visitor economy are a key vehicle to achieving meaningful and sustained outcomes and capability in our regional areas to strengthen our economies and achieve the objectives that we have with regard to tourism. And I think it's clear that ending the funding for VEPs prematurely will be a huge setback to the efforts in the regional communities, and as Councillor Castrain spoke to, that's our own example really is our own partnership with GORT. So I think it's really important to put this up to the MAV, and I hope we're successful.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Is there any other discussion? Nope. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.5, the Western Region's Sustainable Water Strategy Scoping Paper Submission. Mr Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, this submission responds to the Victorian Government's Western Region Sustainable Water Strategy consultation on the scoping paper. Water security is a major issue for Corangamite Shire, where agriculture generates approximately $1 billion of economic output and employs almost 1/3 of the workforce. The key ask is for a funded water security study for southern Corangamite and the Heytesbury district. The submission advocates for practical solutions including sustainable groundwater access, runoff capture, on-farm storage and improved water infrastructure. It also seeks a place-based approach, clear funding pathways, identified delivery agencies and measurable outcomes to ensure the strategy delivers practical results. An endorsement will ensure Council's priorities are clearly represented in the development of the state's long-term water planning framework for Western Victoria.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cole. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support the submission and the way it was put together, Madam Mayor. It provides a good balance between environmental, community and economic considerations, while making it clear that water security is fundamental to the future of rural communities and agriculture in Corangamite. And I particularly support the focus on southern Corangamite and the Heytesbury and the call for a properly funded feasibility study into practical water security options. Importantly, this is only the start of the process. There will be further opportunities to have input into the strategy as the strategy develops, and I think we'll need to make sure that we take these opportunities whenever they come up. We need to keep Corangamite particular circumstances firmly on the table, particularly the different water security challenges across the Shire, the importance of agriculture and food production, groundwater access, runoff capture and on-farm storage. I would also remind people that the current consultation is open till the 30th of August, and I encourage everyone who relies on, manages, supplies or has an interest in water across our region to have their say and make a submission. It is important that the government hears directly from the people and industry that depend on secure water, as well as those who have a responsibility for protecting and managing our water resources. So I'm very supportive of the submission. The important thing now is that we stay engaged through the process, continue to advocate strongly for Corangamite and make sure our priorities don't get lost in the broader water region strategy process.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree completely with Councillor Vogels. One of my only comments about the whole thing is if we don't have water, we don't have agriculture. Therefore, we don't have any food on the shelves in the supermarkets for people to buy. I do note, as we all know, there's a drought happening in Europe at the moment, and I can't remember the name of the river, but the water's dropped so low that there's a stone that's come out of the water apparently in 16 something or other. Someone had inscribed on the stone, if you read this, there will be tears. And the water hasn't dropped that low for that amount of time, so a long, long time. And there are tears happening over there, as we know, and water is vitally important to life on Earth, so life for everyone. So we've got to look after it and we've got to manage it responsibly. There's got to be a balance.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any other discussion? Councillor Kennedy, sorry.
Thanks, Mayor. Just one little comment. Just to add to what's already been said. I think that the advocacy that we're doing, I think within that submission we've pointed out that advocacy for meaningful engagement at a local level, and I mean like local level, like is really important to capture like the variable conditions that we have in the southwest, because even over quite short distances, or from ones like say Heytesbury for instance, up to Newark and Terang area, like it's they're poles apart in terms of rainfall and runoff, and we've got underground water and Heytesbury doesn't. So having that local engagement is a really important part to getting this right. So it needs to be like the outcomes need to be really targeted and they need to be practical. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to be a useful enough exercise. But again, Councillor Vogels has been advocating very strongly for the community to provide feedback on the strategy, and I think that it's important that everybody does do that.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Hickey?
Hey, thank you, Mayor. I hope you can hear me okay. I think this is a great, I support this this proposal. It's a great strategy that's come up. And it's also, we've got very vulnerable farming areas that rely on groundwater to use it. So the balance between environmental and agriculture is always going to be a challenge. But I think this strategy addresses that. But I think, as one of the other speakers said, they've still got till the end of the month to make a submission or to get involved. So I'd certainly encourage anybody who felt the need to make a comment, please get involved and do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Any other discussion? I'd just like to say that thank you for the department for putting on a consultation afternoon down at Timboon a couple of weeks ago, and for all the community members that went to that consultation day and gave their feedback on this strategy going forward, or the scoping paper, should I say. So it was very well received that Timboon had the biggest roll-up of people at any of their consultation that they've done across the whole Western region. So thank you for all those people that did turn up and made sure their voices were heard loud and clear. And as we've heard a couple of times, don't forget, you got till the 30th of August to put that submission in. So thank you. If there's no further comments, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 9.6, Strategic Risk Profile Report as of 31st of July 2026. Ms Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This report is to provide Council with a snapshot of its current strategic risk profile. The strategic risk report, which is attached under separate cover, outlines each strategic risk, including its current and residual risk rating, and is presented to support Council's oversight of strategic risk. It has been prepared in accordance with the risk reporting requirements under the Local Government Planning and Reporting Regulations 2020. At the time of the preparation of this report, there were no outstanding treatments. You may have noticed that a new psychosocial risk has been incorporated into the risk register, recognising that psychosocial hazards, which can include workloads, exposure to workplace conflict, bullying and harassment, and a lot of other factors, can adversely affect employees' psychological well-being. Psychosocial hazards have a potential impact on employee well-being, performance, retention, and also our legal compliance, and Council has assigned a low-risk appetite for unmanaged psychosocial risk, and Gabrielle's policy earlier today will be one of the controls we'll incorporate into the risk register as a control for that. Excuse me.
Thank you, Ms Stevenson. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Constrain. Councillor Beard, sorry.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. And there's probably not much more to add, thanks to the introduction of Ms Stevenson and her oversight, and knowing that there's this report shows that there's significantly no unchanged, like it's going unchanged. Then there really isn't. Since the last time we reviewed, there's not much more to add either. But it is nice. It's significant to note the addition of the psychosocial risk, as Ms Stevenson alluded to, and that's going through the appropriate checks to get our risk rating. It's and of course that's in line with OH&S legislation, which most businesses and organisations are well and truly aware of, and the importance of that into our risk profile. So other than that, I think there's not much more to add to this report. So I'm more than happy to move that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Constrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I apologise to Ms Stevenson's question without notice. We've put in the failure to effectively manage psychosocial health and wellbeing. How is that different to the failure to maintain a safe and healthy workplace?
It's not hugely different, Councillor Constrain. It's that there's new legislation, regulations, OH&S regulations, that require us to consider that as a separate issue. We recently had an audit undertaken of against the regulations of our current controls, and one of the only recommendation was that we incorporate it into the risk register. Otherwise, we have sufficient controls in place to manage psychosocial risks.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much for that. Thanks, Madam Mayor, and nothing else.
Thank you, Councillor Constrain. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to 9.7, the Business Assistance Scheme August application. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was one application received under Stream 1 Business Facade Improvement for August from Realign Health in Camperdown. The application was for facade improvement and landscaping works with a funding request of $3,400, excluding GST, and a fee waiver of $1,338.40, excluding GST. The application has been assessed by officers and is recommended for consideration by the Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Constrain. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cole. Councillor Constrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Once again, it's a really good use of this fund that we have available to our businesses throughout Corangamite. 3,400 plus a 1,300 odd waiver for fees is great. This is a big project. It's over $50,000 project. So this does, in a small way, helps this business to update their premises. So I'm more than happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Constrain. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yep, it does keep the place looking neat and tidy and up to date, so to speak. So when people drive in and look around, it's a joy to the eye, so to speak. So I'm more than happy to move that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Is there any other? Councillor Beard?
I just want to do a shout out to, again, when these applications come before us, how great it is to see during their assessment or in the assessment process, and when they're putting in their quotes, they're actually utilising local businesses to help support their projects. and I know that that is certainly part of the assessment process, but that's just a great outcome for everyone. It's not also for the people that were able to provide that supportive funding too, but then there's that flow-on effect of our local businesses also, whether it be tradeswomen, I should say, or even service providers. It just, that flow-on effect, we can't underestimate the value of that, even though what we're providing in a monetary term is actually quite small compared to the flow-on.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. No other discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We move on to 9.8, Corangamite Planning Scheme Review 2026. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the Corangamite Planning Scheme Review 2026 and endorse its proposed implementation. The Corangamite Planning Scheme is a key strategic document that supports many of the future outcomes sought by the Council in its Council Plan. Council, as the planning authority for the Corangamite Planning Scheme, is required to review its planning scheme every 4 years in accordance with Section 12B of the Planning and Environment Act. Council last undertook a comprehensive review of the planning scheme in November 2022. However, recommended changes at that time were not implemented via a planning scheme amendment, due in part to the significant program of strategic work we were about to undertake then, and that included structure plans for Cobden, Skipton, Terang and Camperdown, the Grow Corangamite agricultural strategy, the rezoning of land for residential purposes in Simpson and Timboon, the Timboon precinct plan and the master plan for the Camperdown production precinct, which have all been undertaken since November 2022. Overall, the findings of the 26 review identified that the Corangamite planning scheme was found to be operating effectively. Planning services and compliance work is being completed satisfactorily, and continuous improvement is having a positive impact on our planning environment. At the same time, the review has identified opportunities to enhance and strengthen policy objectives and required future strategic work, including structure plans for the towns where we haven't been yet, so Port Campbell, Lismore and Derrinellum. Recommended actions include submission of the review to the Minister for Planning and a preparation of a planning scheme amendment, PSA C71, Cora. So we're up to 71. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation before you. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Canady, do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Beard. Thanks. Councillor Canady.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Ms Lindley too, for that presentation. I actually think this is one of our more important reviews because the Corangamite planning scheme is probably one of Council's most referenced documents. There's not too much that's done without going to that scheme and having a look at it and seeing, making sure that we're getting things right, or even identifying where we need to make improvements as well. I think it's really important for our strategic work to support enablement, but also to provide protections where it's necessary. And an example of that is our own rural land strategy that's come through our Grow Corangamite framework that we've been working on for a number of years. It's been a huge body of work, and I have to thank Ms Lindley and the planning team for the big effort that would have gone into this, the amount of time and energy that they would have been taken up in putting this together and sort of identifying those key things that we needed to pick up in this review. I see that it has identified some efficiency improvements, and I know we're always looking for that. Statutory updates, but I think it's really timely as well with regard to that quite lengthy list of strategic priorities we have over the next 4 years that Ms Lindley mentioned. Structure plans, permit triggers, overlays, some of these things do need some more work and improvement, all aiming at strengthening our planning scheme and providing better outcomes for our community. So I think this has been, a great a great outcome, and I look forward to seeing the amendments implemented before too long.
Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not much to add on to what Councillor Kennedy has just spoken to, but I mean, at the end of the day, the huge amount of work done by the team has been acknowledged, but we sit here and we say there's only minor, or there's only minor and low, corrective issues with our planning scheme, but the review in itself is a huge piece of work. And the multitude of attachments that need to go in with this to the minister for the request is significant. So we can't ignore the fact of how much work has gone in behind the piece of work before it even gets to us. It's great to see the strategic work that's going to be happening over the coming next 4 years, and I guess it goes to show again just how busy this department is, and it just reaffirms our commitment to the community in terms of the fact that we don't just do a piece of work and then we sit on it. We continue to evolve, particularly in the strategic space when it comes to the planning of our communities and adhering to legislative requirements. I mean, there's certain things that we think should be easy to do, or particularly as ratepayers, why can't we do that? That's on our land, and it's not because we don't necessarily agree with you, it's just there's rules there for a reason. So to align all those plans together, whether that be legislated or just what we as a council have formulated to protect our townships and their surrounds, it's important that it all aligns. So certainly thank you, Councillor Kennedy, for shouting out the work done by the team, because as I said, by the time it gets to us, so much of the work has already been done, and then they get to say, well, there's only really corrective and minor changes, but to actually get to that point, it's huge. So happy to second that recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put the Councillor Hickey.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. I missed a little bit of what was said, but if I could just throw in that this is a state government requirement for compliance, and there's been a lot of work and a lot of hours has gone into this review. The review is very much for our benefit about keeping work programs current and practical, and avoiding duplications and keeping the work strategic, but also addressing the climate change and vegetation and agricultural support, the Camperdown Terrain Structure Plan. It has been great to upgrade it, but it is still a state government requirement that has added a lot of extra work to our staff.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.9, Capital and Operating Projects Report 2025-2026 Summary. Mr Flanagan.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Council delivers a broad range of capital and operating initiatives as part of the annual works program. This report outlines the end-of-year status of both operating and capital programs. In total, 213 programs are included in the program, with endorsed capital works valued at $23.7 million, with a capital projects completion ratio of 88%, highlighting a strong delivery. The operating projects completion ratio is 79%, which again demonstrates a strong result, with several multi-year and grant-funded projects impacting this figure. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Flanagan. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder for that one, please? Councillor Gustrain, sorry. Councillor Hickey.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. And I have spent a fair bit of time with Mr Broadbent these last few days, so he's particularly proud of this report, and did tell him that if I got a chance, I'd certainly move his report. And thank you to Mr Flanagan for presenting it on his behalf. Yes, it does look great that we've finished the year with $14.9 million spent on capital works. Over 80% completion rate is a pretty solid result for municipalities. We talked to a few other of our local shires over the last couple of days, and we're certainly very envious of the fact that we've been able to complete what we have. So that goes very, very well. I sit very well with myself. I was quite proud of that. Just on the operating program, we still achieved 79% completion rate. So some of the projects that weren't completed were multi-year or grant-funded projects. For example, the other restrictions were the landfill-related projects that have been held up by weather and delays and the necessary regulatory approvals. But that being said, this is a very, very good result. And I think it was, I think I read somewhere between screens, it was over 85% or something for capital works and 79% for operating projects, is a result that we can certainly be very proud of, and congratulations to the works team.
Thank you, Councillor Healy. Councillor Gastrein.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I do have a couple of questions. I'm more than happy to second this, but I would just like some explanation, excuse me, for some what looks like to be overruns, but maybe something else. And I address questions to Ms Lindley, please, that there's two amounts there which relate to cell 16A at the landfill for excavation geotechnical geosynthetics, and also for lining cell 16A. So that basically amounts to about $590,000, which looks like it's an overrun. But Ms Lindley?
Thank you, Councillor Gastrein. It's not an overrun. So it's one of those projects, as Mr Flanagan pointed out, is a multi-year project. Is weather dependent, so it's within the overall project budget for those construction projects, which do take into consideration EPA requirements and some other regulatory approvals that we're required to meet. We also encountered a delay as a result of the war in the Middle East and the impact on plastics and the ability to get a geotech liner. So the expense is slightly up, but we're still within overall project budget for that construction.
Very good, thank you. And the other question I had was to Mr Broadbent, but in his absence, Mr Flanagan, I think, has probably looked into it, and that's a couple of projects in Works and Services. One's the Koala Road, and the other is the Sisters Noorat Road, which both have overruns, and I'm guessing that they might be a similar situation as Ms Lindley's. Or?
Yeah, indirectly weather dependent. So for, excuse my pronunciation, Mayor, but for Koala Road, there was unfavourable ground conditions, more so than originally estimated, which added to the cost of the reworks. And with the Sisters Noorat Road, again, the road condition was lower than originally thought, which meant that when it came to the rework, it was a little bit higher.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Gastrein. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. I move on to item 9.10 S11A, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation. Ms Henry.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Under the Local Government Act, Council has powers to appoint a person, including contractors, as an officer for the purpose of enforcement. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's endorsement for appointment of authorised officers under the Planning and Environment Act through the updated Section 11A Instrument of Authorisation and Appointment. The request arises from recent staff changes, including the appointment of staff from an external provider with specialist expertise to undertake urgent planning enforcement work in the role of Planning Investigation Officer on behalf of Council. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Henry. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Gastrein, Councillor Beard, Councillor Gastrein.
It's just procedural, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move it.
Councillor Beard.
Happy to second the same reason.
No worries. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.11 S11B, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, and S18, Instrument of Subdelegation. Ms Henry.
Similar to what I outlined in item 9.10, the Section 11B Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation and the Section 18 Instrument of Subdelegation authorises staff performing duties relevant to environmental health to use powers and functions required for them to undertake their roles in accordance with the Environment Protection Authority Instrument of Delegation and Instrument of Direction to Councils. Under the Section 11B Instrument of Delegation to Council by the Environment Protection Authority under the Environment Protection Act, Council is able to directly appoint and authorise relevant members of staff and subdelegate to them relevant Environment Protection Authority powers. The accompanying Section 18 instrument of subdelegation is used by a council to delegate to members of its staff those powers that are contained in the instrument of delegation. The purpose of this report is to seek council's endorsement for the appointment of authorised officers under the Environment Protection Act through these updated instruments of authorisation and appointment. And this request arises from recent staff changes as mentioned at item 9.10. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Henry. Council, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Vogels, do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Beard, Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Rather procedural, but it is an important governance measure to make sure the Environmental Health Office and the relevant council staff have the proper authority to carry out their responsibilities under the Environmental Protection Act.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Vogels, sorry. Councillor Beard.
Happy to segment, nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Sorry, carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 10, other business. Any other business, councillors, you'd like to raise at this point in time moment? Nope, I don't think there is. That's good. Item 10.1, no notices of motion. Number 11, open forum. Mr. CEO, was there any questions online?
Madam Mayor, there is not.
No questions from the gallery? No worries. Thank you very much. Item 12.2, we need to move into confidential items, so I'll call for a motion to suspend standing orders, please. Councillor Vogels, Councillor Cole, all those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Thank you for everyone for watching today. Really do appreciate it. We're nearly at spring. It's lovely to see a little bit of blossom out there, so make sure you get out there, enjoy those longer days.